Hi Nancy, great post. I did the exact same question as you did, and I just wanted to go off of something that you mentioned. And you mentioned the fact of this mind game that asymmetrical warfare is not only like a physical attack on like you mentioned during the war in Vietnam, it wasn't only a physical attack on the American soldiers, but it was also this mind game and this mental attack. And I think this is so true because it makes me think of why they actually do use these tactics, and it is to break the will of the troops. And even American public opinion, like we saw in the readings for this week during the war in Vietnam. And I think we kind of see this in the wars today because it seems as if public sentiment is becoming less and less as the war draws out. And I think this really demonstrates why some do use asymmetrical war tactics because by breaking the will of the people and support the insurgents, terrorists, and whoever we are potentially fighting, they can use this to potentially win the war. Because if you don't have, just like we saw in Vietnam, we no longer had support from the American public. There were protests going on. Everybody wanted us out of the war, which ultimately led in the loss of American lives and how we seem to not be advancing as the war drew out. So therefore, we eventually did get out of the war, and it was seen as a quote loss for the United States. So I think this is definitely the reason why many decide to use asymmetrical warfare because it is their only a tactic for winning the war. Because the American mentality of Americans using conventional warfare so long has proven to be beneficial because we have established this ethics for the rules of engagement, and we have established such a large army, and we have proven to be successful throughout history in winning wars because of these conventional methods that we have used for so long. I think the quote is if it's not broken, don't fix it, or something like that. However, we've seen that our conventional ways are currently, in some cases, breaking because just like the insurgents and terrorists in the war in Vietnam, or not in Vietnam, in Afghanistan and Iraq, we can't continue to fight conventional methods because there's no longer an enemy on the front line to fight. We don't always know who our enemy is because terrorists are pretty much dressed in civilian clothes and are not in military uniforms. So like I said, we don't know who the enemy is. So I think we're having to try and adapt and evolve, and our it may be as if our old conventional system of symmetrical warfare is broken and we need to fix it because other countries are transitioning, so we need to, potentially transition with them. So you just got my mind thinking about all this stuff when you mentioned these mind games and how countries use asymmetrical warfare and these mind games to advance their own will and advance their own agenda as far as winning a war and all that. So thank you for your post. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to hearing more.